Hi, I'm Jill with the West Regional Branch of the Mobile Public Library, and today I am going to brew a cup of hot tea. In the US, especially in the South, iced tea is king, but worldwide hot tea is much more popular. So to brew hot tea, I have already heated up some water in this measuring cup. Of course, heat up your water however you like to, a tea kettle on the stove, a pot, whatever. And then I am going to use a tea infuser. This is another tea gizmo that I happen to have. This is actually big enough you could brew a pitcher of tea at one time, and it's got a hook on one end where you could just hook it over the side of your pitcher. But today I'm just going to use it kind of like as a substitute tea bag and just do 1 cup of tea. Again, you do not need one of these. There are all other different kinds of solutions. And for a single cup, you can even just use 2 cups, brew it in 1 cup and then use a fork or a spoon to hold those tea leaves back and then pour it into another cup. So I am going to put my tea in the ball, and this one here I have is a Chai Oolong, and it has oolong tea, which is kind of like partway in between a black tea and a green tea, and it also has cinnamon, ginger, carob, chicory root, black pepper, cloves, and cardamom. So it's going to be nice and spicy. So I'm going to put 2 teaspoons of tea leaves in my little ball, and this is just the recommended amount from the package. I honestly don't drink that much hot tea. I much prefer cold, but it is nice to have as an option, especially on a cold day or if you've got a sore throat. And then I'll just seal this ball back up and go ahead and stick it in my cup. And then I will pour over the hot water. Okay, now I'm going to set a timer and let that steep for 3 minutes. Since this is from an actual tea plant, it tends to be a little bit more sensitive to brewing time than the herbal tea I made in last week's video. So that's why I want to set a timer, because if I let it steep too long, it will probably go bitter. So I don't want to lose track of time and forget to take the leaves out in time. While I'm waiting for that to steep, let me tell you a little bit about real teas, since we talked a little bit about herbal teas last time. All of your major teas, your black teas, oolong, green, white, they are all from the same plant. And the differences between those different types of teas are how the leaves are processed once they're picked. Black teas are the most oxidized teas, and the teas are oxidized by they sort of roll and crush the leaves to expose them to more oxygen before drying them. So black teas are the most oxidized, green teas are the least oxidized. Oolong is less oxidized than a black, but closer to the black end. White tea is slightly oxidized, but not as oxidized as oolong. So the white tea and the oolong are kind of like in between green tea and black tea. On tea packaging labels, you will also see place names like Darjeeling and Assam, and those are actually the places where the tea was grown. And what kind of soil conditions and weather and so on, the source of the tea makes a difference to the tea's flavor. And then there are other terms like orange pekoe that don't have to do with where it's grown. They have to do with the part of the plant that is used. Orange pekoe, which is the type of tea typically used for iced tea, it actually tells you what size the leaves were when they're picked, because if it's small young leaves versus large older leaves, that will also affect the flavor. And then finally, you'll also see different varieties of teas based on what kind of additives for flavor have been added to the base tea. So this is a Chai Oolong, so like I said, it has all those different kinds of it has all those different kinds of spices in it. Okay, so my tea is supposed to be brewed now. It's got a nice light color. I'm going to put this aside in the other cup. And then I am going to add some sugar to that. And that should be nice warm. Okay, and so I was saying with the different varieties of tea, so this is a chai, so it's got various Indian spices added to it. But you can also get all kinds of other things added to flavor your tea. For instance, an Earl Grey is a black tea that has been flavored with oil from the rind of bergamot oranges. So it gives a little citrusy flavor to the black tea. So there are all kinds of different options and flavorings out there, especially if you go to a loose leaf tea, you get even more options than what you would find if you have a bag tea. That's quite nice. I mean, it's a little bit warm this time of year to be drinking hot tea, but it is freezing in this meeting room. Now, one more brewing tip before I close out this video, and that is that teas can be brewed can be steeped more than once. How many times you steep it is going to entirely depend on what type of tea it is and what your taste is, because it does get a little bit weaker each time you steep it. Black teas tend to lose their flavor pretty fast, so most people don't like a second steep on a black tea, but it's still worth a try. You may still like it depending on how particular you are. Oolongs are well known for actually being okay to steep multiple times. So I'm just going to go ahead and pour some more hot water on this and make a second cup while I've got the tea all ready to go in this tea ball, because no use letting it go to waste. If you have any questions about brewing hot tea, or you have a favorite tea that you like to recommend, leave me a comment in the box below, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.